Well, folks, hard to believe we've already gotten to the month of February. In fact, this video will find you a couple days in. I didn't have time on the 31st or the 1st, unfortunately, to do this, but we still have much of the month ahead. So, 4 weeks to a month. And we've got 4 cards here. We can choose to look at these either as a week by week or something that will get some influence that will play off of each other throughout the next month or so. I will look at these one by one. We'll talk about some interaction, but I'll leave it up to you to decide whether we want to make this week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, or just February. We start out with a member of the Major Arcana, the 14th, or if we scratch out that 10, a 4th degree card, Temperance, which really goes along with this channel, since it obviously has a lot to do with transformation, self-transformation. This card involves getting out of maybe a rut. This card we could associate with the butterfly that has emerged from its cocoon, from its chrysalis. A new being. We see a little slipper of purple there. So it definitely has some wisdom. This edition of the Tarot de Marseille, restored by Alejandro Jodorowsky, actually doesn't depict this yellow trim on the dress as a trim, but he identifies this actually as snakes, which, if we look at them just as a symbol of transformation, they do change periodically. They do change their skin. They shed. They become, newer versions of themselves. And of course, if we hearken back to the Adam and Eve story, it has to do with enlightenment and receiving knowledge. So as we begin this month, some opportunities, maybe ones that you've been working on, will come to fruition for self-transformation. Perhaps some opportunities that you weren't expecting for self-transformation will emerge. Avail yourself of these. They don't come all that often. And prepare yourself, because what we do with those can really have an effect on the future. Perhaps one of the changes that we will entertain and perhaps contend with, depending on how we want to look at it, will come in the form of breaking out or expanding our social networks, our interactions. I find it interesting that we do have a 4th card here, and then we move on to a 5th. In fact, we have a 3, 4, 5, 6. This whole spread, although not in order, includes 4 sequentially related cards. Now here we see our expansion, perhaps incorporating other people, other ideas, maybe other aspects of ourself. We were just talking about transforming something. Maybe that network will involve our internal network with ourselves. And you'll notice a lot of growth happening here. A lot of blue, so a lot of receptivity. If you have some guards put up against people or against, emerging pieces of yourself or things that you've been working with to bring out that emerging part of self, maybe take it down a notch. See what the other has to offer. It may surprise you. And in fact, I would dare say that it will result in good things. It'll result in our increased ability to work not only with the people and aspects of ourself, but also with the larger environments we find ourselves in. The work environment, the home environment, the internal environment. These things will grow, and it doesn't have to mean wild exponential growth. It can mean cultivated growth, guided growth, but it'll really take off if we work to accept the changes, involve new interactions inside, outside of ourselves, or even some of both. That'll lead to our abilities to make greater changes and have bigger effects on the people and places surrounding us. But we need also to remain mindful of what comes next, found in the Lovers. The Lovers usually involve some kind of a choice. And so here we'll have spent a month, or 3/4 of one, working on ourselves, working on perhaps some relationships and some growth. And then we can expect to find ourselves in a position of having to make a decision, having to choose something, like the young man in the middle must choose between the young girl here, who has some things he probably has an interest in, and this older gal, maybe not as attractive, but who also must have something that he finds desirable. You'll notice that he looks backward. When this comes to you, remind yourself of what the previous weeks have held. Remember, you have some wisdom. You probably even have a good idea of what you need to do. Make sure that the decision you make falls in line with your desired outcomes and your goals. Make sure that this process will contribute to it. And make sure to pay attention to your higher self, your daemon, your holy guardian angel, whatever your tradition prefers to refer to this as. Make sure to remain in contact with yourself and with all aspects of yourself. You know, the angel here in Temperance has a reference to the different parts of self in her attire here. We have a circle with a little triangle cut out, and then we have 4 other triangles. This involves balancing the different aspects of ourselves. You'll notice that the tarot has 4 suits in addition to the major arcana: cups, pentagrams, wands, and swords. Perhaps some of your work here will involve those 4 aspects of your life and working with them together. I dare say that the cups and the pentagrams may need or deserve some special attention this month. I don't know what decision you'll have to face, nor do I know the one that I will. But if we expect it without living in fear of it, we will do well and better enable ourselves to prepare for it. Pay attention to these things, work on these things. We have some pretty clear things going on here. And these, as we go through these, may give us insight into the question itself before we even run across it. At the very least, it'll help to brace us and prepare us for whatever that will entail. I certainly hope you have a wonderful February. You will definitely see more from me in the coming weeks. Feel free, please, to comment, leave your thoughts and suggestions, questions, or alternate interpretations. And of course, visit me on Facebook, visit me on Instagram. Been working to get this channel updated more often. That hasn't really happened yet. So make sure to follow me on those. You'll see updates throughout the day, virtually every day. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. So, folks, I wish you the best. Wish you a wonderful day. Reflect on this. And until next time, keep on transforming.